Okay, welcome back, team. I'm excited today to talk about nutrition made simple. Everybody knows that there are so many confusing websites and sources of information on this. Again, today we're going to just kind of scratch the surface on making nutrition simple for you. So, we're going to stick to what evidence says, the best evidence or the best research that's out there right now, and try to cover some high level topics. And then by the end of this talk, we'll kind of land the plane with trying to make some behavioral changes for you too. I think the basic takeaway from today is that nutrition does not need to be complicated. I think that we can really hit the nail on the head and make this simple for you. Okay, so we've already covered sleep as our kind of biggest superpower. I think next in line might be nutrition. So some people say input equals output. Maybe an easier way to remember is garbage in equals garbage out. We really want to focus today on understanding how to appropriately fuel your body so it can perform the way you want to and you can have your limitless life. Okay, the building blocks for nutrition are called macronutrients. There's three primary macronutrients. There is protein. Protein is essential for recovery and muscle growth, and it should account for 25 to 35 total calories. As we age, we like to see a little bit more because what naturally happens in aging is that you start to lose muscle mass. So it's important that you compensate for that by fueling. What that actually looks like is somewhere between zero point 0.6 and 1.0 grams per pound body weight. So if you're 100 pounds, you should be between 60 and 100 grams of protein per day. Next macronutrient is carbohydrates. Sometimes these get a bad name, sometimes rightfully so, but carbohydrates are also essential. They're really important for energy production, making you feel good, get through your day with enough fire to do what you need to do. We start by recommending that you get 40 to 60% of your total calories from carbohydrates. Sometimes if you're like a performance athlete or if you're fairly sedentary, this needs to be tweaked based on your energy demands. We'll hit that in the next slide. We also like to recommend that you try to fill your carbohydrate quota by eating fruits and veggies first, and then followed by that, we like whole grains or unprocessed foods. The reason sometimes carbohydrates get an appropriately bad name is because people are consuming processed food, which essentially converts to sugar, which essentially converts to fat and makes us unhealthy. The last macronutrient we'll cover is fat. So we want fat in our body. There are some really important reasons for that. Again, it helps with brain function, energy, nutrient absorption, and most importantly, satiety. So that feeling of being full is really hard to achieve if you're on a really low fat diet. So we look for about 15 to 25% of total calories coming from fat. Healthy sorts of fat include avocados, oils like extra virgin olive oil. You can find it in other products as well. Caloric density is a really important concept, and this ties back to probably most importantly for people who are concerned with maintaining or losing weight. So calorie density refers to the number of calories in a specific amount of food. So we just talked about the macronutrients, right? So if we're talking about a tablespoon of olive oil, probably has about 100 calories in it. So that's very calorically dense, a lot of calories in a little bit of space, versus a 4 cups of steamed broccoli, which would be really hard to consume all in one sitting, probably has maybe half of that amount of calories. So very low caloric densities. Usually foods that are low in caloric density have more water. They're lower in fat. They have high fiber, which is really essential for our digestion. They really help with weight loss because they fill up your tank because there's a lot of volume, but not a lot of calories in there. So the tips here are, again, back to that slide we were just on, is really look for fruits and veggies are probably the best way to eat low caloric density foods. Eat with a purpose. I mentioned this earlier, just that calorie intake should match performance demands. You can get really dialed in and specific on this. But generally speaking, just try to pair your caloric intake with your energy demand. So if you're exercising regularly and you have a very active lifestyle, you're going to have to increase your caloric intake. And if you are rather sedentary, you'll have to decrease your caloric intake. There are tons of great free calculators on the internet available to help you determine how many calories you should be getting in throughout the day based on your energy demands. The protein problem, again, I alluded to this earlier in the slides. It's such a common conversation for us to have with patients in the office where people come in, they're exercising, they're wondering why they feel kind of terrible all the time. Or maybe we start exercising for the first time. All of a sudden they say, I am so sore. I just can't seem to shake this muscle soreness after working out. So we dive in a little bit and have discussions about how much protein they're taking in. We said before we want about zero point 0.6 to 1.0 grams of protein per pound of body weight. We find people that are just woefully under consuming protein. So to make a long story short, is we eat more protein and exercise, we increase our lean muscle mass, which essentially, to say it simply, increases our metabolism. So we end up burning more calories just sitting there because we've had more protein and we have more muscle mass, and that muscle mass needs more energy. So this is a really essential piece, is making sure that you're getting enough protein or fueling appropriately that way. For people who are trying to lose weight, it's especially important, because if you're in a caloric deficit and you're not getting enough protein, you will lose muscle mass. And that is the uphill battle that every human has to face after about the age of 35. We all start to lose muscle mass physiologically unless we're consuming protein and strength training regularly. Hydration. Again, everything works better when you're properly hydrated. It's essential for every cell, tissue, and organ system in the body to function optimally. This is another one that kind of blows my mind about how people just don't drink water. So we're looking for hydration can come from non-caffeinated and non-sugared drinks. So a lot of things like regular Gatorade or regular sports drinks have a ton of sugar in them. So we try to just take those off the table. There are lots of ways to help yourself. If you just don't like water very much, there's little drops you can put in your water, things you can mix in there to make it taste better. Some people like a carbonated fizzy water, something like that. Decaffeinated, unsugared iced tea is a great option. Decaf coffee counts also. The minimum for an adult is 64 fluid ounces of water per day. And then generally, we say we want to add about 32 ounces for every hour of moderate physical activity. So if your baseline is 64, you go to the gym for a workout for an hour, or you go for a nice long walk, something like that, you should add another 32 ounces of water or non-sugar, non-caffeinated beverages. I just have to say anecdotally, the people that come in the office who are not hydrating appropriately, we move the needle significantly for them and how they feel just by changing what they're drinking. And it usually blows everybody's mind by how much different they feel if they haven't been hydrating appropriately and they start hydrating appropriately. It just makes them feel a ton better. So I can't encourage you enough to consider this. We say, this is a familiar quote, but what gets measured tends to improve. So I'm going to encourage everyone to take stock right now. So of the things we talked about, whether it's fruits and veggies, whether it's protein, whether it's hydration, I want you to pick the one that seems like the lowest hanging fruit, or you maybe need the most improvement on that thing. And I want to figure out a way to measure it here. So in each of these chapters, again, we'll have some homework. I want you to identify the one change that you can make with your nutrition and commit to tracking this for a month. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be on a pad and paper. It could be in an app like MyFitnessPal. There's some other free ones to help you track your nutrition. It could just be even a note on your phone. That would be a simple way to just track it every day, because again, what gets measured tends to improve. So that is kind of wraps things up. Here's some references that we used for this presentation, and I can't wait to hear how everyone is doing with this. Again, go ahead and jump into the app and just kind of post progress or questions in the discussion section. We'll really look forward to hearing about that. And as always, here's to your limitless life.